Well, the time is 6:32. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Vice President Ferguson, could you do the invocation, please?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Father God, we just give you the glory and the honor. Father God, we just bless you, your name, and we just praise you. And we thank you that we have another opportunity to thank you and to meet and do the business of the city. We ask for your strength and your wise counsel, and we ask for your peace in the midst of this meeting. And Father God, we just thank you right now in the name of Jesus that you are in our midst and that you are with us. And Father God, I just ask that you will bless the citizens of Glenarden, the employees, and all that are associated with us in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Madam Clerk, could you do the roll call, please?
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to remind everyone that the meeting is being recorded. Councilwoman Fareed,
Here.
Councilwoman Guillaume,
Good evening, and yes, here, sorry, here.
Councilman Hairston,
Here.
Councilman Herring,
Here.
Councilwoman Jones,
Good evening, here.
Council Vice President Ferguson,
Here.
Council President Curtis.
Here.
All are present.
Okay, is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second? I will second it. Any discussion?
Council President,
Yes, Councilwoman Jones.
looking at the agenda, it also has resolutions R34 and R35, the Gold Woman Community Center on there.
Correct.
Okay, so I never received any information of any updates.
Yeah, I was just about to say, during discussion, I talked to Mr. Simpson. What we received last time was incorrect. We did not receive the correct updates, but it's best to move this into the new session in September. So this will be removed from the items tonight, 34 and 35.
All right, Council President, thank you. That answers my question.
All right. Any other discussion?
Yes, Mr. President. So is the budget being voted on tonight?
Yes.
Okay. But it's not on my agenda. When is it being voted on? At what point on the agenda?
Right after we adopt the agenda, it says, 2, 3, 4. Well, the numbering is off, but it says approval of the FY25 budget. Right under motion to adopt agenda.
Okay.
And so we'll have to make it an emergency ordinance and then it'll go into effect. I mean, then we'll vote on the emergency ordinance. Was that it, Mr. Herring?
Yeah, that's it.
All right, thank you. Councilwoman Jones?
Yes, Council President, once again, where is the ordinance, the written ordinance for to adopt the an emergency and a vote for the budget? There should have been a document, an ordinance number, and a document like a resolution that accompanied the budget.
Mr. Clerk, was there not an ordinance prepared?
No ordinance was submitted.
Why?
I didn't receive any ordinance or a direction to, just that the updated budget was sent to me mid-afternoon.
I'm sorry, Council President, but there's last year's cover that could have been used as a template to create one for the FY25. Thank you.
Okay. Council Clerk, what goes into the resolution, to the ordinance?
I would have to pull one up and look. I don't know that I did the ordinance last year, but I could certainly research it. But basically, it would just clarify that this would be included and that it would be effective as of the time voted upon.
So it's,
Mm-mm. I'm sorry, Council President, but the figures also go into that, or that ordinance also. If you pull up the FY 2024 or 23 budget, you'll see that there is a cover ordinance with all of the information needed to pass the ordinance for the budget. Thank you.
okay, Council Clerk, are you at the municipal center?
Yes, I am.
Mr. Stewart, are you at the municipal center?
I'm the only one here.
No, I'm not. What do you need?
An ordinance prepared?
Okay. So let me spend some time and see what I could work on during this meeting to send to her
Just pull last year's ordinance and put the proper
and
numbers
drop.
in there,
Will do.
and then attach the budget. That would be the ordinance.
Mr. President,
Councilman Harry?
now, you know, we got to pass the budget before we can vote on the.
I understand.
Uh,
Understand. It does not take long to prepare an ordinance. Council Clerk, if you could start on that now, even if we have to go into recess for a little bit and come back to vote on it and then vote on the other legislation, we can do that.
well, Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
Glenarden legislation can be voted on because it's already in the budget. That's in effect right now.
Yeah, I understand that. We can, like I said, we can move forward with those two pieces of legislation. We can have a brief recess while Council Clerk prepares the ordinance, the cover of the ordinance. All it is the cover and the budget added to it. And then we will present it on a screen for citizens to go through it, for council members to go through it, and then we can vote on it. And then we can vote on the other legislation. All right. So the amended agenda, we'll move things around. We'll go into a vote on the we're tabling the R34, R35, 2024. We will move forward with the R-01, 2025 and R-02, 2025. We'll go into a brief recess if Council Clerk is not ready by then. For that ordinance, emergency ordinance to be prepared. We'll come back from recess, pass the budget, and then pass R 3-2025 and R 4-2025. Any opposition to this revised agenda? Okay. Hearing none, by unanimous consent, this agenda is hereby adopted. First on the agenda, and Council Clerk, if you could start on that ordinance now, that'd be great. I'll take everything over from here. Council Clerk, do you have the ordinance from last year?
Yes, I'm pulling it up now and I'll update it.
Okay, thank you. So first up is R-01-2025. Let me pull that. 1 second. Sync 01. There you go. Now I'll pull it up on the screen so everyone can see it. Mr. Gray, could you make me the co-host, please? I cannot share. Or Council Clerk, one of you.
You got it.
Thank you, sir. Can you see my screen? Can anyone see my screen? Everyone see my screen?
It's small.
Okay. R-01-2025, a resolution to contract with Shells Laros. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Hospitality for catering services for Glenarden Day. The sponsors are Councilman James A. Herring and Councilmember Maurice Hairston. The date of introduction was July the 8th. The public hearing was held on July 19th and is being read into regular session today, July 30th, 2024. Whereas the City Council is promoting more community outreach, and whereas the City Council would like to have a community event, and whereas the City Council would like to celebrate Glenarden Day to bring the community together for a day of celebration, and whereas the City Council would like to provide refreshments at Glenarden Day, Stella Ross Hospitality will provide catering services per attached contract. The cost for services will not exceed $8,000. I'm sorry. The funds will come from budget line item 10-30-10-8647. And number 3, this resolution shall take effect immediately upon adoption. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. President. Could you add Councilman Guillon's name as a sponsor?
Councilman's name to the sponsor. Does anybody know what 8647, what line item this is? Mr. Stewart, do you know what that is?
86. That is the special
10:30.
events.
Special events.
That's special events for the council.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Don't mean to derail this. Mr. Herring, so as we talked about contracts over $6,000, does this have to go out to an RFP or no?
No, because he's done county and other city events. He's been through the bid process through other municipal governments, so we can piggyback on it.
All right. Any other discussion before we vote? Any opposition to the approval of? Any opposition to this resolution? Councilwoman Jones?
I have a question. Okay, so since this vendor has other contracts, where is the other contracts going to be included with this resolution? Since we didn't have to do I'm talking about the contracts that we're piggybacking off of, so we won't have to do an RFP.
You say, you're saying are other contracts from who going to be included?
You said that he has contracts with the county and other municipalities.
Done business with the county and other municipalities.
Okay, so is it going to be attached to this resolution?
We
Will it
don't
be
need to
attached?
supply, we don't need to supply their contracts. We need to supply the bid process. So we can get the bid process.
I think I remembered something else we had going on and they wanted the contract attached to it. The other contracts that we were piggybacking off of to be attached to the resolution.
We just bought $127,000 in cars and there was no other contracts attached to that.
Yeah.
In police cars specifically.
Thank you, Council President. I'll pull that other one up.
Okay. Any other discussion? Any opposition? Hearing none by unanimous consent, this resolution R-01-2025 is hereby adopted. Okay. I don't think you guys can see that one, so let me stop sharing. Yeah. Next up is R-02-2025, a resolution to enter into a rental agreement with Fantasy World Entertainment for rides for Glenarden Day. The sponsors are Councilman James A. Herron and Councilman Maurice A. Hairston. The date of introduction was on July the 8th. 2024, the public hearing was on July 19th. 2024 is being read in today, Tuesday, July 30th, 2024, the regular session. Whereas the City Council is promoting more community outreach, and whereas the City Council would like to have a community event, and whereas the City Council would like to celebrate Glenarden Day to bring the community together for a day of celebration, and whereas the City Council would like to have amusement rides at Glenarden Day, and now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of Glenarden, Maryland, sitting in special regular session its 30th day of July 19th, that one, Fantasy World Entertainment will provide amusement rental per attached contract. Two, the cost for services will not exceed $18,000. Three, the funds will come from budget line item 10-30-10-8647. And number four, this resolution will take effect immediately upon adoption. Is there a motion to bring this to the floor for a vote?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Yeah, I think I know what you're gonna say, but go ahead.
Yeah, could you just add Councilwoman Guillon's name to sponsor? All right.
Yeah. So Council Clerk will add her as a sponsor. And also, if we could just add what line item this is so people can know, this is just numbers. So we'll know what line item is coming out of. All right, any other discussion? Councilwoman Jones, is that a new hand or old hand?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know I had a hand up. I didn't know, that's an old hand.
Okay. Any opposition?
Let me go back to my.
Hearing none. Hearing none by unanimous consent, R-02-2025, a resolution to enter into a rental agreement with Fantasy World Entertainment for rides for Glenarden Day is hereby adopted. Okay. We we have these two. Council Clerk, about how much time do you think you'll need to pull that ordinance together?
Council President, I'm on the phone with Dean right now. I think if you can give us about 15 minutes, we can pull it together.
Okay. All right. So I want to have a motion that we go into recess into 7:15. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any opposition? Hearing none, we will go into recess into 7:15. Good everyone. Good evening, everyone. The time is 7:32, and I'd like to call us back from recess. I'd like to call us back from recess. Madam Clerk, could you do a roll call to make sure all the members are back, please?
Councilwoman Fareed,
Here.
Councilwoman Guillaume,
Present.
Councilman Hairston,
Here.
Councilman Herring,
Here.
Councilwoman Jones,
Here.
Council Vice President Ferguson,
Here.
and Council President Curtis.
I am here. Thank you. To share my screen so everyone can see this ordinance.
Mr. President, while you're doing that, did
Yes,
they email
Councilman.
the email to us?
Let me check. Have it, so if you guys didn't get it, then it was only emailed. Nope, it was only emailed to me. Miss Council Clerk, could you forward it to the entire council, please?
I am.
Thank you. Okay. Let me share my screen. Larger. All right. Has council received the email from council clerk and looked at the ordinance? Council clerk, the only, I think, issue I have is after the now and therefore being enacted and ordained, that the FY25 budget and it's for the city of Glenarden is as follows, but there's nothing. If you're going to reference this, then there needs to be a reference here. But I think that's easy just to see. reference this as an Appendix A or something like that?
Council President, I
Yes.
certainly can. That's Dean and I thought that was the fastest and most expeditious way to do it, but I certainly can change the wording in there as an attachment or addendum.
All right. Thank you. All right. So here is the emergency ordinance. O-01-0-2025. So unless I'm out of order, I will read it, and then we can vote on bring this forward as an emergency, and then voting on it. Any objection to that process? Okay. Emergency ordinance 0-01-2025. Sponsor is Gina A. Cross, Mayor. At the request of the administration, co-sponsor, sorry. The public date of introduction was July the 3rd. Regular session. The public hearing was on June. Well, that cannot be it. What was the date of introduction?
Was it our first meeting on July 5th when we had the first budget meeting, or?
Then is the public hearing supposed to be July the 13th? Council Clerk?
Council President, the budget has to be advertised for 2 weeks prior to a hearing. And so I went back and looked at the date in which we sent the announcement to the newspaper, and that's the date.
June 13th?
Yes.
So what was the introduction? If the hearing was on June 13th, the introduction was afterwards?
Yes.
Okay.
The ordinance, the budget has to be advertised prior to the date of the hearing. Yes.
Okay, so we have the public hearing. Okay. Council Vice President Ferguson? Vice President Ferguson, do you have a question?
Yes, I was wondering about the sponsor. I was looking at the other ones, the 23 and 24, and the council president was the sponsor. Does that make a difference? The council president, at the request of administration. That was the ordinance on 23 and 24.
Council President,
Madam Clerk?
Dean and I pulled up the last one, and that's how it was listed. It is the mayor's budget.
Okay.
Doesn't necessarily matter to me, but if I recall correctly, the mayor cannot sponsor legislation.
Council President,
Councilman Herring?
you're right. It has to be a council member.
Yeah. So we could correct that. We can add that to the reading. That should be corrected as Council President Curtis at the request of the administration. Do you have that, Council Clerk?
Yes, I do.
All right. So I'm just write these notes as we are amending this, so we're making sure that they are included, and when we vote as amended. Okay. All right, so that introduction is July 3rd, but also please check that, Council Clerk. Public hearing was on June 13th, because I found it highly unlikely that they can speak on something that hasn't been introduced. It's being read into regular session, July 30th, 2024. An emergency ordinance for the purpose of adopting the city's FY25 budget. Whereas the city of Glenarden, Maryland, hereinafter the city is a municipality organized under the authority of Article 11-E of the Maryland Constitution as defined by the Maryland Code, Local Government Article 1-101G, and whereas pursuant to Maryland Code Local Government Article Section 5-202, the city may adopt ordinances to 1, assure the good government of the municipality, and 2, protect and preserve the municipality's rights, property, and privileges. Whereas pursuant to Charter Section 60221 of the Charter, the City Council of Glenarden, hereinafter the council, has the express power to expend municipal funds for any public purpose and to have general management and control of the finances of the city. Whereas Charter Section 308C and E respectively provide 1, that an emergency ordinance may be adopted at the same meeting it is introduced, and 2, may become effective on the date certain. And whereas Charter Section 807B provides that if the council fails to adopt the budget by the second Monday in June, the budget for the current fiscal year shall be deemed adopted for the ensuing fiscal year as if it had been enacted by ordinance until the council adopts a new budget. And now therefore be it enacted and ordained by the City Council of Glenarden, Maryland, sitting in regular session this 30th day of July, 2024, that the FY25 budget for the city of Glenarden is as follows. We will add an amendment to have it as Appendix A or Attachment A. And B, it therefore resolved and ordained by the city of Glenarden that the emergency ordinance is and shall become effective upon the same date as passage. And I will note that the total revenue being voted on for general funds is $7,131,596. And the total expenses are $6,367,214 for a surplus of $764,382. Is there a motion to adopt this as an emergency ordinance? As amended, as an emergency ordinance.
So moved.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Councilwoman Jones.
Thank you, Council President. I have just one question. In page 6 of this budget that was sent to us, it is showing under the American Rescue Plan council chambers, $500,000. And then on page 9, under, let's see, capital expenditures, it's showing City Hall Nutrition Center and Council Chambers upgrade, 400,000. Is that a typo, or am I?
Stewart,
I think that is a typo.
So
Let me look at it again. Pardon me?
I'm sorry, so both figures should be 500,000?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Council President.
you. Any other discussion? All right, Madam Clerk, could you do a voice vote to adopt this as an emergency ordinance?
Councilwoman Fareed,
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume,
Yes.
Councilman Hairston,
Yes.
Councilman Herring,
Abstain.
Councilwoman Jones,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferguson,
Yes.
and Council President Curtis.
Yes.
Vote carries.
Okay, is there a motion to adopt emergency ordinance 01 -2025 into law? Is there a motion?
So move.
Second. I will second it. Any discussion?
Yes, Council President.
Councilmember Herring?
Yeah, let me just say, you know, as a council member, I have a major problem with this budget. Like I said, again, every time I go over to see something new in here that I didn't see before, that's why I'm like rushing with this stuff. Because like I said, looking at public works, I'm still wondering what we need $100,000 for a Bobcat for, and what is it going to do? Just spending money just to be spending money when we got so many other pressing needs. I think it's really starting to be the song that's sung in this community versus doing what's best for the citizens. Again, I brought up 4 items that I would like to have put on our opera list. Like I said, MLK Park, Hayes Street, Church Street, and senior program so seniors can basically age in place. And I'm not understanding why I cannot have that on this budget. Just the 4th time I spoke on this, and it's not being put on. But other council members can just say, put this on a budget, and bam, it's on a budget. And I'm trying to figure out why what I want for my people and for the citizens in this community, not just my people, but for the citizens in this community, is not being looked at and carried with the same weight as somebody else. Again, I think that we're doing a whole lot of stuff. We've been spending a lot of money on things and not on people. I think that programs that we have in here, some of our expenses in here are entirely too much. And again, I just want my stuff listed in that opera section that I requested be done. My items will get done faster than anybody else's because again, Hayes Street, we got a contract with NZI. We're riding on the county contract. It's just a matter of getting a proposal from them and getting them going. Hayes Street can get done. Church Street, same thing. We got a proposal from them already. Get from NZI, get that can get going within 6 months before they close the hot house for blacktop. Same thing with MLK Park. I need cement work done over there to help finish that up. And the only thing that may take a while is the senior program. And I'm just not understanding why I'm trying to look out after kids walking to school in the street. That don't seem to be an issue with, I guess, this council because nobody's spoken up in favor of it. I'm trying to get these seniors looked after. I'm trying to make sure our roads stay safe so we And buses can continue to travel on the route that they had before the potholes get in there, which are coming soon. And I'm trying to get get these things done for the citizens in this community. And it just seems like it's completely ignored. It's not considered. And for some odd reason, it's not even being included in this budget. And I don't understand why. And I like to have all four of those items included in this budget with a dollar amount. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Herring. I don't mind things being added. We literally just went over this last night, and I asked council members, is there anything else? No one said anything. We went over the whole list of ARPA funds. I'm not against it, but I also don't know like everything that I literally asked several times last night, is there anything else? And no one said anything. And we took that list last night and it seemed like everybody was fine with it. But it would have been fine to go in there last night for this argument to be made last night. That's one. Number two, we can still do those things. There's a surplus in the budget, and we can easily amend anything to add what it is that you want now that we missed that opportunity last night. We made edits last night to adjust the budget, and now we're here.
Mr. President, may I? Because I mentioned it 3 times last night. One council member asked for something one time and it went in the budget. $350,000 for the gold. I asked 3 times for those items we put in the budget. Not once did you say, how much did you want to put in the budget? Whenever I ask for something, it's always, let's take a poll. Let's take a poll. Let's take a poll. So every time I take a poll, it never goes my way. So I didn't do a poll. You didn't put it in the budget. You didn't ask, how much do I want? So obviously, when it's not asked, I don't move forward with it because obviously everybody said silent. If people wanted to support it, they would have spoke up. So I'm assuming they didn't want to support it. And that's the way I feel about this. I feel that constantly I'm trying to do for the citizens in this community, and everything I put forward is either silent. The council sits silent on it, and they don't want to address it. But other things that that's brought up, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's put it out here. Church Street is a major issue. Safety is a major concern. Nothing was said about it. Seniors are a major concern. Nothing was said about it. Hayes Street is a major bus route where people come and go to get to work. Nothing was said about it. St. Martin Luther King Park, I got to go to the county and the state with my hat in my hand and try to get funding for that park. When we didn't give all of this money, I asked for money to finish that up. Nothing was said about it. Nobody supported it. Thank you.
All right. Councilman Fareed.
Council President, I will say that when you asked if anyone had anything else, I did speak up, and I actually asked that we look at what Mr. Herring was putting in there, but we all agreed that we would hold that conversation for another time after the numbers were adjusted. And as a reminder, the gold room was not something that was just brought up randomly. That is a resolution that was already presented and passed that was not included in the budget, and it should have been. So it wasn't some brand new random thing that was brought up. I do think that Mr. Herring has some great ideas, and we would love to, I think discuss them as a council, but we don't have any resolutions for those things to even understand what we're looking at. I am fully in support of doing anything for the community. And as I said last night, it was recorded. You can go back to it. I did ask that we look at what Mr. Herring was proposing and discuss that a bit, but we agreed collectively that we would go with what we had. And then after those numbers were adjusted and we knew what was left in the pot, we will come back and talk about any new programs.
Thank you for that correction, Councilwoman Fareed. Vice President Ferguson.
Yes, I just wanted to say that maybe I misunderstood because I thought originally that it was decided that those projects that Councilman Herring was talking about was going to come out of surplus as well. But then I do remember that it was supposed to be revisited. As far as the Church Street, I have worked on this with proposed to try to get grants along with Councilman Herring back in November 2023. I have a lot of people in Ward 1 complaining to me about walking their kids over there. So I am, and I have voted in previous meetings with Mr. Simpson recently asking where were we with that. So I am mindful of that. And I did agree, Hayes Street looks a mess. So only thing I can say is I'm sorry, Councilman Herring, if you feel like you have been ignored. I thought that was agreed upon, that we would revisit that, and you were satisfied with that, because I do remember the council president asking, was there anything else, or was everybody okay, and nothing else was said. So for me, I'm just saying that I am not ignoring your suggestion. Everything you said is good, and I agree with it. I live in Ward 1 also, and so I have just as many seniors needing help for some reason or another, and definitely I am definitely pushing for the street over there where the babies walk. So only thing I can suggest is that we do address those needs and those requests that Councilman Herring have on the table, because they are important, especially, again, the babies and even the seniors. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Jones.
Thank you, Council President. I also have brought up the Church Street issue, and City Manager, Mr. Simpson, has told us that they have a proposal. All they need to do is submit the resolution and the proposal to the council to approve the funding. So that's one of the projects that he, has stressed that it's on his agenda. But we all have said that that's one thing that we all want to see done. I also attended the county meetings to see if we could get the funding from the community block grant issue. But for some reason, someone has received the letter saying that we weren't approved. So I did try to work with the county to see if we could get those fundings, and went to those meetings and made a statement concerning that. And since we now know that we will not be getting the funding from the county, we can move forward with the proposal that Mr. Simpson has put together with the NZI to do that. I do have a statement that I want to read into the minutes, into the meeting. We as a council received the fiscal year 2025 budget April 15th with a format change on April 30th.
I'm sorry. Oh, wait, you're breaking up. We can't hear what you're saying.
I'm not understanding why I'm breaking up.
No. Now we can hear you now. It's like when you I don't know if you're sitting back and you fade back. It sounds
I'm
distant.
sitting up.
All right, now we can hear. Go ahead.
Okay, my statement is this. We as the council received the fiscal 2025 budget April 15th with a format change on April 30th. This council did not begin work on this budget until July 5th, 2024. Due to our all wanting a recess, we moved quickly to present a budget. I believe that we could have done better with employee salaries. All of our trusted employees are vital as they carry out the day-to-day operations of the city. This requires continuity, commitment, consistency. The most valuable asset of the city of Glenarden is its employees. How the city council, how will the city continue to attract and retain excellence without offering competitive market rate compensation? Government or business, the biggest expense in any budget is going to be payroll. It was requested the administration for an increase for the code enforcement salary by $13. It was said that the position would make more than an entry-level police officer. Those are two different tasks. It says that due to his pay putting his life on the line was one of the reasons given why we shouldn't extend this request. Why is it the code enforcement can make more using the compensation scale for code enforcement? I also think that all employees put their lives on the line due to the culture we live in when you're coming to work. Police officers also need to have salaries reconsideration, and not by taking a viable service in the police department, such as fingerprinting, for a one-time compensation to officers. It was said that citizens in Glenarden do not use the fingerprinting services. Government is not about providing services, government is about providing services and not generating revenue. We have a group of seniors that utilize the nutrition center, in which 98% probably do not live in Glenarden, but thank God we can provide the facility and incur the cost of doing so. Some services are provided for the greater good. The greater good meaning schools. We have schools in our city that people don't live here, but they utilize the schools and the roads to come in to go to those schools. Event I have yet to receive. I try to be patient as not to be hit with any more allegations of workplace that are unfairly providing dates and times and no one to cooperate with the allegations. Overflow the tax rebate event to be used to give the promotions the administration has requested and bolster some of these salaries. We as a city need to stop declaring poor comes to providing competitive market rate compensation for employees. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you.
Mr. President, may I?
Yes, Councilman Harris.
I want to say this, it's one thing to sit there and say, oh, we're gonna address it at a later session. We're gonna address it at a later session. But when was the question asked of Councilman Herring, who was the one that was bringing it? Nobody asked me anything. Nobody said, Councilman Herring, do you want to wait till a later session or do you want to do it right now? I didn't agree to anything. I wasn't even asked a question. So that's what I'm saying. Decisions are made and I'm just here. So I just wanted to put that out there. And as for whatever else was said, I'm not even going to entertain some of that stuff. But I'm done. Thank you.
Right. Is there any other discussion on this motion to adopt ordinance 01-2025? Okay. Then, Madam Clerk, could we please proceed with the voice vote to accept emergency ordinance 0-01-2025 with the following amendments? The sponsor should be Council President Derek Curtis. On page 9 of the budget, the amount for the council chamber should be $500K and not $400K. And also referencing in the now therefore being enacted and ordained that the budget as attachment A be incorporated. Could you do the voice vote, please?
Councilwoman Fareed,
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume,
Yes.
Councilman Hairston,
Yes.
Councilman Herring,
No.
Councilwoman Jones,
Abstains.
Council Vice President Ferguson,
Yeah.
and Council President Curtis.
Yes.
The vote carries.
This emergency ordinance is hereby adopted. All right. Next on the agenda is Resolution R-03-2025, a resolution authorizing the use of $250,000 of an American Rescue Plan Act fund towards educational supplementation for the residents of the city of Glenarden. Madam Clerk, do you have that in front of you?
Yes, I do.
I will share my screen. If you can read that, please, that would be.
Resolution 03-2025. The sponsor is Councilwoman Fareed. Co-sponsors are President Curtis and Councilwoman Guillaume. The public hearing was held on July 23rd. We're in special regular session on July 30th, and the date of introduction was July 16th. A resolution authorizing the use of $250,000 of American Rescue Plan Act funds toward educational supplementation for residents of the city of Glenarden. Whereas the American Rescue Act, ARPA, provides funding to support local governments in responding to the impacts of COVID-19 pandemic, and whereas the city of Glenarden recognizes the significant educational disruptions caused by the COVID-19 pandemic and the need for additional educational support for its residents, and whereas investing in educational supplementation, such as tutoring and exam preparation, is crucial for the academic success and future opportunities of students. And whereas it is in the best interest of the city of Glenarden to allocate a portion of the ARPA funds to support the educational needs of its residents. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Glenarden, Maryland, as follows. Number one, allocation of funds. The city of Glenarden shall allocate $250,000 from the ARPA funds toward educational supplementation for residents of the city of Glenarden. Two, eligible expenses. The allocated funds shall cover expenses related to tutoring, exam preparation, necessary devices to facilitate tutoring, such as tablets and exam preparation materials. Eligible expenses include tuition rates, and materials directly related to tutoring and the exam preparation services. Parents, guardians are responsible for all other fees, including but not limited to the enrollment fee. Eligibility criteria. Applicants must be enrolled in an accredited school from kindergarten through the senior year of college. Applicants must be residents of the city of Glenarden, as evidenced by school records such as a report card or transcript. The tutoring or exam preparation must be provided by a legitimate registered business qualified to deliver said services. 4, funding cap. Each eligible applicant can receive up to $3,000 for the 2024-2025 school year. 5, application process. An application must be completed for each student. Only completed applications, including required documentation, will be reviewed. Funds will be allocated on a first-come, first-served basis. Required documentation. Current school record indicating the student's address, for example, enrollment documentation, report card, transcript, etc. Parent guardian identification indicating address, name and address of the tutoring exam preparation provider, anticipated courses and costs for 2024-2025 school year. Progress reporting. Students are required to submit report cards to show the progress in the areas of tutoring at the end of each grading period. 8, preference for Glenarden-based and Prince George's County-based tutoring vendors. Preference for tutoring services will be given to vendors based in the city of Glenarden and then to vendors based in the Prince George's County when possible and practical. Applicants are encouraged to select Glenarden-based tutoring vendors first, followed by the Prince George's.
This way, Stan. This way.
Followed by the Prince George's County-based vendors. If multiple applications are received on the same day, applications utilizing Glenarden-based tutoring vendors will be processed first, followed by those using Prince George's County-based vendors before considering non-local vendors. 9, payment process. All payments for tutoring and exam preparation services will be made directly to the vendor by the city of Glenarden. Any required devices will be purchased directly by the city and provided to the eligible applicants. Application deadline. The deadline for application submission, excuse me, is August 31st, 2024. Administration. The City of Glenarden shall establish an application process and criteria for the disbursement of funds in accordance with this resolution. The city shall ensure transparency and accountability in the management of allocated funds. Be it therefore resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately upon its adoption.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion to bring this to the floor for a vote?
So moved.
Is there a second? I'll second it. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilman Herring?
Yeah, as you know, I'm still not in support of the way this was the way it's being allocated with this money. $250,000 is a lot of money, and I think the program is restricted to only 83 students throughout the community. And so I think that while I support tutoring and everything, I think that it needs to be accessible to every student in this community. I don't like the preference part in this piece of legislation. That needs to come out because we should not be advocating certain businesses in the city of Glenarden. You know, if a person has tutoring that may be outside the city, they should be able to use it. It shouldn't matter where the child is getting their tutoring from as long as they get tutoring. Now, so my thing is, if people are already in Kumon and they live in Glenarden, they're automatically going to get $3,000 because they're in the program already, and all they got to do is apply. And I don't think it's fair to everybody else who's not in the program. So I think that preference part need to come out. If anybody wants tutoring, man, you're restricting where these kids can get access to tutors from. Everybody can't make it to Kumon. Everybody can't make it to whatever mathnasium or whatever that is. This is a restricted piece of legislation that only benefit a few people, 83 people, and it's only 83 people that's probably half of them may already be in Kumon. Who knows? So I think we need to remove the preference part of this, and I think we also need to add in here after 1 day allocation of funds, to say $83,333.33 will be allocated to each ward. That's $250,000. So that's $83,000. There's a pot of money for each ward because each ward have basically the same population, probably the same amount of kids. But at least they know that this program would get across the whole city. So I'm asking that be put into this legislation, that the preference for Kumon applicants be taken out, because I don't think it's right. I don't think it's fair. If I got a tutor already that's doing really excellent with my child, I got to leave that tutor to go put him in Kumon. That isn't right. People should have an option. They should have a choice. And like I said, it looks like we're sitting here trying to prop up a business. Every business got paid. They got taken care of during COVID. Every last one of them, I guarantee you, they applied for COVID relief funds. So why are we still trying to prop them up by giving them more business? Yeah, because if they want to go to Kumon, more power to them. That's good. It's a business. They're there to make money. But I think that every parent should have the option to have whoever they want to get who they want to tutor. And I definitely think that it should be allowed here that $83,333.33 be allotted for each ward. That way we can ensure that every child will have opportunity to avail themselves of this program. If the kids don't use it in that ward, then you can move the money somewhere else. But I think the option should be there and it should be open to them. Because right now I don't think it's going to be fairly allocated throughout the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a second to that amendment?
Mr. President, technically, I do not need a second to that. I do not need a second to that amendment, actually, because again, once the legislation comes to the floor, it's owned by the council. So if I want to make an amendment to it, I can make an amendment to it. But if you want to go ahead and do the poll, do the poll. So you got your motion in a second. So let's go ahead.
I have a motion. I need a second, Mr. Councilman Herring.
Second. I don't know.
No, I second that they shouldn't have had a ceiling.
Okay. Council Clerk, could you do a voice vote on the amendment? I'm sorry, one second. Um, Vice President Ferguson?
Okay, what were we, first and second?
The points that Councilmember Herring made, he wants to change the legislation. Point one was the division of the $250,000 equally between the three wards. Correct, Mr. Herring?
Yes.
Point two was to remove the preference. Point two was the preference. Would I miss anything, Councilman Herring? I thought those were two main points.
Those are 2 points.
Okay, all right. So Councilman Herring has made a motion to amend the legislation, to amend R-3-2025 to explicitly put in there that the $250,000 will be divided between the three wards so that students can apply from each ward. And that number two, that we remove the preference statement. Yeah.
Well, the preference statement, I definitely, I agree with that, because there are some people that their kids are already being tutored. I think that people should have a choice. And I don't believe that, I do understand, trying to support or honor the city businesses, but I think it's a bit restrictive. Because I'm quite sure that there are other people in different wards that I know some that do have tutoring, and they do not go to either one of those. And in order for them to anyone to go to those named facilities, they would be secondary to be considered. So I don't like that part. I have no comment with the second part about I think first come, first serve as far as the, you apply just like any other grant or any other thing, you just Glenarden wide, citywide, but definitely, I don't particularly care about the naming particular establishments, and that should be removed to me. Thank you, Council President.
Okay. Councilwoman Fareed?
Thank you, Council President. You read the resolution for the record for everybody to see, and it was up on the screen. There was never a mention of Kumon or mathnasium. This is a false narrative that is being presented that these are the only two options for people. It says businesses based in the city of Glenarden. There are more than those two centers that provide tutoring services to students in the city of Glenarden. The preference is given to those in the city of Glenarden because those businesses, be it those centers or people who have their own businesses, if they are legitimate, then they are paying taxes appropriately, and those taxes are supporting the city of Glenarden. So that is what the preference is about. It is not to specify that people have to go to one of those two centers that have been mentioned. Those centers have not been explicitly included in the resolution. And it's really, I think, a disservice to the citizens to represent it that way, because it is making it seem as though something is happening that is not happening. It is on a first come, first served basis, as all of our other grant programs were. When we have established grant programs for ARPA, we have not allocated the amounts across wards. It has been open to everybody in the city to apply for them, and they have done so. So there is nothing different about this particular resolution, except that we are trying to support businesses in the city of Glenarden and businesses in Prince George's County so that we can keep our dollars circulating in our community. This is a double benefit. That's why that preference was written in there.
Thank you, Councilman Fareed. All right, so there was a motion and a second. This is discussion. Any more discussion before we vote on the amendment piece? We're not voting on the legislation. We're voting on the amendment to divide the money to 3 wards and take out the preference.
Yes,
Statement.
Mr. President. Just one other thing before we do that. The legislation, I don't like when people think people are ignorant of what's being put on paper. We've gotten 2 centers in this city that we know of. Now, if there's any other ones in the city, I don't know about them. I haven't seen them. And if they were other centers in the city, they all should have been listed. But it's not. The 2 main ones are the 2 that were listed, that we know of. And I think it's not fair to sit there and restrict people to centers in the city of Glenarden. I may work in DC and may got my child being commuted out there to DC to get tutored out there. So I got to take them out of there to get them here. So I don't qualify for the money. It's the program seems like it's targeted. It's targeted to a certain group of people. That's what it looks like. If you're already in Kumon, you got it. You're getting $3,000. That's just a guarantee. And I don't think that's fair. And I don't think that's right. I think that, again, it needs to be spread across because my kids over here ain't gonna know about it. I guarantee you, and what I would like to do, if this passes, I want to get the names and the wards that all the kids are coming from that utilizes this grant. And I'm gonna ask for it because it's public record. And I guarantee you, a lot of kids over here in 1, 2, and probably old parts of 3 probably won't even know about it. Because a lot of the programs that we're dealing with now, I'm going around now telling teens about programs that we have, and like the Intergenerational Poverty Fund. They're like, I didn't even know that existed. So it ain't like we advertise it. So what happens is the people that know about it are the ones that either know a council member and they go tell them, and the council member tells them about it, or may pop up on this meeting. And you see, we only get like 20-something people on here. I'm just saying again, if you're going to be fair about this, then you need to be fair about it. If it's about educating and tutoring children, then let's educate and tutor children across the spectrum, across the whole ward. And divvying it up amongst the 3 wards should not be a problem if that's what you honestly want to do. And while we didn't do it with other ones, I can see this not going the way that it needs to go when it comes down to who's going to take advantage of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Fareed, final comment to you, and then we'll vote.
Yeah, again, this is false news. It's right up on the screen. It doesn't even say centers. It says tutoring vendors. There are numerous vendors who are former teachers or current teachers who offer tutoring services as either a side hustle or now that is their full-time job. This does not say centers. So please, let's talk about what's actually written. Number 2, in terms of advertisement, this is designed to make sure that everyone is made aware of it via a mailing so that everyone in the city of Glenarden will have that information and have the ability to apply for the program. We as council members, particularly those that are ward council members, should be knocking on the doors of our constituents and letting them know about these things. That is our responsibility, to let them know what is going on in the city and encouraging them to take advantage of the services that we are offering to them as citizens, because we represent them to do that. So that is the plan, to send out a mailing. So again, everybody in the city will have access to that information. And I encourage all council members, especially those who are ward representatives, to reach out to their constituents and make sure that they are aware of the program and support them in applying for the program. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Vice President Ferguson?
Yes, I want to address again Section 8, line 73, actually line 80. If multiple applications are received on the same day, applications utilizing Glenarden-based tutoring vendors will be processed first, followed by those using Prince George's County-based vendors, before considering non-local vendors. Again, I have a problem with that. I know of some families that, particular family, they have their two children. They live in Glenarden, but they have someone they are being tutored in Bowie by who was a teacher that goes to their church. So of course they use that person. They're in Bowie. I know of a teacher in Greenbelt and a teacher in Fort Washington. These children have been tutored since COVID. And so I'm sure that they don't want to, I mean, the only way that they could qualify is if they live in if they use a Glenarden base first. If they are the first few people, first 7 people that qualify, but they're going with a vendor in Bowie, so they're going to be set aside. I just do not like. I mean, it's not respect the person or respect of. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but let's be fair. I really have a problem with that. Now, as far as again dispersing the funds, the awards, I really don't. I personally don't think that would be necessary if we get out the advertisements and cards and stuff like that, and even with Fareed said to maybe to do some personal door knocking or calling, but I do have a problem with this line 80, 81, and 82. I have a problem with that. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Councilman Freed, is that an old hand or a new hand?
Oh,
okay. All right. Well, we'll move on. This is just for the amendment. This is not voting for the legislation. This is voting to include the amendments that Councilman Herring proposed. It was seconded by Councilman Hairston. Council Clerk, should do a voice vote, please.
Councilwoman Fareed,
No.
Councilwoman Guillaume,
Abstain.
Councilman Hairston.
This for the changes?
Yes.
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 Councilman Herring,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jones,
No.
Councilwoman Ferguson,
This is for the changes.
To allocate, divide the amount between the 3 wards and to remove the section 8 of the resolution.
Oh, I have to abstain because I only agree with one half. So
President Curtis.
Mine is a no.
The amendment fails.
Okay. With that, then is there any other discussion?
Council President,
Vice President Ferguson?
I mean, I would suggest, so if it was my resolution, at least compromise, just take out that area that, again, to me, it seems like respect the person, or just take the 80 to 82 out. That's what I would do to compromise, at least do half of that, because people are already established, and they should be able to continue with their tutoring without wondering, because I didn't pick a home base teacher in Glenarden or a reputable tutoring service, that I might miss out. It's only 83 slots. So, you can get 100, 100 applications the same day, and then all can be from Glenarden, and then so automatically the people that lives in Bowie, has a Bowie tutor that's been living here since, they're tutoring their grandkids. They've been here since 66. They're denied. But they had the application in probably in the top 20. I just really have a serious problem with that. I understand honoring and supporting city-based businesses. But as Councilman Herring said, most of the people, especially if they was established, I'm quite sure that they got compensation for loss during the time that it was given monies to businesses that took losses. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Councilwoman Fareed.
Are you asking for discussion on the resolution, or are you asking for discussion on those amendments that we just voted on? I just want to make sure I understand what we're talking about.
So the amendment, the vote on the amendment failed. So now we're back to the original resolution. And so Councilman Herring's motion came during that discussion, and that was pulled out in itself, voted on, and failed. Now we're back to the regular. And so as we're discussing the original resolution before we vote on the original resolutions, if there are no more other motions. All right.
So, point of order, Mr. President. I'd like to ask Councilwoman Ferguson, are you making a motion, Councilwoman Ferguson, to pull out that section?
I am.
I second that motion.
So this motion is to pull out line
80, 81, and 82.
Okay, to pull out line 80, 81, and 82. Any discussion on that point before we vote? Hearing none, can we have a voice vote? Council Clerk, please. A yes to remove line 80, 81, and 82. A no to keep it in there. Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Reed. Oh,
Hold up, point of order, Mr. President, before you do. Are you sure, Councilwoman Ferguson, are you sure it isn't 73? You're trying to get rid of the preferences?
No, I'm sorry, she can speak for herself. Vice President Ferguson.
Okay, I read 80, 81, and 82, where it was saying that if multiple applications receive same day, then the application utilizing Glenarden-based tutoring vendors will be processed first. However, now that it's brought to my attention, that whole section needs to be taken out. Because its preference for tutoring services will be given first to vendors based in City of Glenarden. All of this is what I have a problem with. All of that. Because, again, it's no different than if someone has their child going to a specialized school, pulling or whatever. So they saying, whatever, say Greenbelt. You're going to a school in Greenbelt or Riverdale First Baptist Church up there. That the kids qualify. You can pay your tuition and everything, but you cannot. But the first people that are going to be considered to be awarded a space in those special schools are people that live in Riverdale or the people that live in that particular ward, and that's not, I don't think that's fair. I just don't. Especially if your application was first, and because you don't live there, but you want to go to these special schools, whether it's a Christian school or whether it's Glenarden Elementary or like Pullen is a music, an art school. People go there. I know some people that have kids that go there, but and that's what I'm saying. I just don't like this preference that it's still basing, Glenarden based when people already have I mean, I just feel like it's not right. It's just like I live in Glenarden and I have a doctor that works out of Bowie, and they say, well, you know, only Bowie residents can come to this pediatrician first. No, I don't like that. Thank you. So I'm saying this whole section 8, the preference needs to be reworded or something. I mean, even if they say people that live in the county, but just it's too specific. It's specific. Thank you.
So just to add to this, I am a proponent of line 78 and 79 staying. Applicants are encouraged to select Glenarden-based tutoring vendors first, followed by Prince George's County-based vendors. I think that's just encouraging people to use homegrown vendors. It's not a requirement, it's an encouragement. Councilwoman Guillaume?
Council President, thank you. You didn't see my hand, but I was going to say the exact same thing. We are the city of Glenarden, and we need to make sure that we at least encourage people to use the services that are here in the city and also in the county. So I can, you know, negotiate, I can't say negotiate, but I can hear compromise for the other parts. But number one, let me just be clear. I am not for removing Section 8 at all. Let me be very clear about that. And if we were to revise Section 8, I am standing strong, 10 toes down on 78 and 79 staying. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't say thank you.
No worries. Councilwoman Fareed?
Thank you, Council President. Let me just say that the point of this thing was just to try to support, because this is ARPA funds, and it is to support those who were impacted by COVID-19. The intention here was to support Glenarden businesses as well as support the citizens of Glenarden. This was not meant to be discriminatory in any way. I am open to having the preference put in there in terms of the language saying that we prefer people do that. In discussions with other council members around how we would actually do that, that is what we decided, that having that preference in terms of the application in order that they came in would be the way to do it. But I'm not here to stop anyone from, you know, making or doing the services that they're doing that are most beneficial for their children. The points of this resolution is, again, to make sure the children are getting their services that they need. Some of the testing centers are not for everyone. Virtual services may be something that's more applicable for or more accessible for people rather than having to go to a center. So this is not trying to direct anyone to something that does not work for them. This is entirely for the benefit of the children. So as long as we keep that language in there, encouraging people to explore the different services that are available in the city of Glenarden, both center-based and otherwise, I think that is fine to remove the other piece around when multiple applications are received.
Mr. President.
1 second, Councilman Herring, I'll come to you next, but Vice President Ferguson's hand was up first.
Yes, I can agree with leaving 78 and 79, and reading it is saying that they are encouraged. So that's, you know, it's not saying that they have to, so that will be fine. But I still am adamant about removing 75, 76, 77, 80, 81, 82, but definitely 78 and 79. I can concur with that. I have no problem with that. Thank you, Council President.
Vice President, Councilmember Herring?
Yes. Again, I'm looking at this, and if you look at 75 says preference for tutoring services will be given first to vendors based in the city of Glenarden, and then to vendors based in Prince George's County when possible and practical. And that means that you're going to get preferential treatment no matter what, because again, you're in tutoring centers in the city. And also, let me just say this, because I don't think people are even looking at this. You got a lot of kids that are special needs that these centers cannot tutor. And they cannot go to Kumar. They need special tutoring. They need that one-on-one tutoring. So you basically negating them. I mean, y'all got to look at this. Every child isn't perfect. There's a lot of children out here with special needs. There's a lot of children out here with learning disabilities. A lot of children out here who need special in-depth tutoring from specialists. You just want to send them to a center that probably can't even handle that. But yet, and so you're going to basically restrict them from even wanting to apply because they're going to realize, okay, well, they get preferential treatment, so I don't even want to apply for it. I'm not understanding the need to sit there and push a business that's about making money. I don't care if it's in the city, because I have businesses over here and ain't nobody ever come over here and push no businesses over here. I got the share program right here over here in Ward 1. Ain't nobody push that. They give away food. But they're business. They're also a nonprofit. So they make their money and they do what they got to do. But again, I think it's unfair when you got parents who got children that need to be tutored to restrict that they got to come to Glenarden or they got to get rid of their current tutor, or if they special needs. My niece is blind and she need to be tutored. Who in Kumon going to tutor her? Nobody. Because they can't. So you even restricted people with disabilities. See, you need to look at the whole group of children that's out here. It isn't just the kids that's doing good or the kids in private school or the kids that's in tag programs. It's a whole lot of other kids out here that need some help. And this doesn't do it. And that's why I said we needed to allocate that money across all 3 wards, because I know some kids are not going to be able to avail themselves of this. And I think it's unfair and I think it's short-sighted to sit there and think that everybody can go to Kumon and everybody can be tutored by somebody in Kumon or Mathnasium or somebody inside the city. There's a lot of special needs. There's a lot of kids that are autistic that get special help from people who know how to handle their situation. And I think this just restricts it. The whole section need to come out. We start doing, good gracious, they use preferences on us when we wanted to vote. Shucks, they use preferences for years on us with everything we've done in history, and now we're doing the exact same thing to our own people. It's like we forget where we came from. We forget our history. We're just limiting what children can be educated and taught in this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Harry. Councilwoman Fareed.
Just, I'm not gonna just defend and argue anymore. My heart was pure on this. It is to help the children of the city of Glenarden, plain and simple. When I suggested this, I said that this type of service should not be only limited to those who have the means to access these things. So it is entirely intended for those who have not had traditionally access to this type of program, who may want to do these things, may already be in programs and maybe need something a little bit more. This is not ever intended to restrict anybody. So I just want to reiterate that. Anybody who knows me and knows my heart knows that I'm not like that when it comes to children. So I resent the implications that are being stated, but the reality is this was designed to help students, plain and simple.
Thank you, Councilwoman Fareed. As a co-sponsor, I just want to say as well that all children are eligible for this with special needs or non-special needs. So if special needs child is getting tutoring, then they're also eligible. There's nothing in this legislation that restricts special needs kids from applying for this same pot of funds. As we have discussed, the motion on the table is to remove, I don't know why I stopped sharing out, put it back up. As the compromise was stated, we will be removing almost entirety of Section 8 with the exception of lines 78 and 79. Applicants are encouraged to select Glenarden-based tutoring vendor first, followed by Prince George's County-based vendors. But that's an encouragement, not a requirement. Everything else will be, that is the motion on the floor, that everything else will be removed except for those 2 lines. All right, so that was first, I believe it was, who was the second? I believe Councilman Bahari was the second on this one. Am I correct, Councilman Bahari?
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay, so we're not voting on legislation. We voted on the any opposition to the amendment? I think we can do it this way.
Mr. President, I like a voice vote.
All right. Council Clerk, could you do a voice vote for the amendment to exclude everything in section 8 except for lines 78 and 79? Yes to remove everything but those two lines, no to keep everything in.
Councilwoman Fareed,
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume,
Yes to keep 78, 79 and remove the other stuff.
Councilman Hairston.
Abstain.
I'm sorry, Councilman Hairston, I didn't hear you.
Abstain.
Oh, abstain, okay. Councilman Herring,
What was it? What is the motion again? You gotta
Councilman
clear that
Herring,
up for me.
the motion is to remove section 8 with the exception of lines 78 and 79. I'll read it out to you. It's on the screen. Applicants are encouraged to select Glenarden-based vendors first, followed by Prince George's County-based vendors. Those are the only two lines that will stay if you say yes. If you say no, everything will stay in.
Yes.
All right.
Councilwoman Jones,
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Oh, really? I have citizens telling me they couldn't hear me earlier. And so I don't know what's going on. So now you can hear me.
If you speak in, and I don't know what it was, but yes, you were fading out earlier, but now we can hear you.
Hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Council Vice President Ferguson,
Yes.
Council President Curtis.
Yes. All right.
Vote carries.
Now, can we do a voice vote to accept the resolution as amended? Madam Clerk?
Councilwoman Fareed,
Yes. Can you come back to me?
Councilwoman Guillaume,
Yes.
Councilman Hairston,
Abstain.
Councilman Herring,
No.
Councilwoman Jones,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferguson,
Yes.
Council President Curtis,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fareed,
Councilwoman Fareed?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make a brief statement before my voting. I'm advocating for this resolution because it's timely and essential to the future of our city. The COVID-19 pandemic has left an indelible mark on our education system, disproportionately affecting the academic progress of our children, particularly those in Glenarden. The gaps in learning are profound and the need for intervention is urgent. Our children are the future of Glenarden. They will be the leaders, innovators, and change makers of tomorrow. We owe it to them to provide every possible opportunity to catch up and excel in their education. This resolution to fund tutoring services is a critical step in that direction. Black and brown children in our community have historically faced barriers to accessing educational supplements. According to a report by McKinsey & Company, Black students are on average 6 months behind in math and 5 months behind in reading due to the pandemic. Hispanic students are similarly affected, with an average of 5 months behind in math and 4 months behind in reading. This systemic inequity has only been exacerbated by the pandemic. Research indicates that it could take up to 9 months of dedicated tutoring to help our children catch up to their grade level. By supporting this resolution, we are not just addressing the immediate educational needs caused by COVID-19, we are taking a stand against the long-standing inequities that have hindered the progress of our youth. It is a shame that there have been efforts to stop this resolution while also claiming to care about our community. We cannot claim to prioritize the well-being and future of our children if we deny them the resources they desperately need. Actions speak louder than words, and it is time we align our actions with our stated commitment to the community. We must prepare our children to compete on a global level. A study by the World Economic Forum highlights that by 2030, the skills gap will affect more than 1.4 billion people worldwide. The world they are entering is more competitive and interconnected than ever before. By investing in their education now, we are ensuring that they have the tools and knowledge necessary to thrive in this rapidly changing landscape. This resolution is just a small but mighty step in the right direction. We wish we could meet all of the needs of all the children, but unfortunately, we do not have support to do that. I will be working hard to secure additional funds from other sources to expand this program. We should be proud to be taking these innovative measures to move the city forward. Thank you so much for allowing us to demonstrate our commitment to equity, justice, and the future of Glenarden by providing our children with the support they need to succeed. And with that, my vote is yes.
Thank you, Councilwoman Fareed. With that, this resolution passes. That was only one. Next up is Resolution R-04-2025. A resolution authorizing the use of $50,000 in the American Rescue Plan Act funds to purchase school uniforms for eligible children residing in the city of Glenarden. Madam Clerk, could you please read the resolution?
Sponsors are Councilwoman Fareed and Council Vice President Ferguson. Co-sponsors are President Curtis and Councilwoman Guillaume. The public hearing was held on July 23rd. We're now in special regular session on the 30th, and the date of introduction was July 16th. A resolution authorizing the use of $50,000 in American Rescue Plan Act funds to purchase school uniforms for eligible children residing in Glenarden. Whereas the City of Glenarden recognizes the importance of providing support to families in need within a community, and whereas the American Rescue Plan Act provides funding to local governments to address the negative impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, and whereas the City of Glenarden has determined that providing school uniforms for eligible children will help alleviate financial burdens to the families and ensure that all students have access to proper school attire. And whereas eligible students must reside in Glenarden as evidenced by school records, and parents/guardians must provide identification showing Glenarden residency. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City of Glenarden that 1. Allocation of funds. The city shall allocate $50,000 of its ARPA funds to purchase school uniforms for eligible children residing in Glenarden. 2. Uniform provision. Each student will receive 2 dress uniforms and 1 physical education PE uniform. 3. Eligibility criteria. To be eligible for uniforms, students must reside in Glenarden as evidenced by school records. Parents, guardians must provide identification showing Glenarden residency. 4. Application process. The City of Glenarden will establish an application process to collect information on uniform sizes, school information, and specific uniform requirements. 5. Implementation. The city manager is authorized and directed to make the necessary actions to implement this resolution and ensure the timely distribution of uniforms to eligible students. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately upon its adoption.
Thank you. Is there a motion to bring this to the floor for a vote?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any opposition?
Yes, I had some discussion.
Councilmember Herring?
Yeah, how is this going to work? I just like to know how the whole thing is supposed to work. How are you going to get the uniforms? Where are you going to get them from? You're going to get names and then try to get uniforms after you get the names when they may be sold. I'm just trying to figure out how is this going to work. Like I mentioned last time, vouchers would be the best thing to do. I think reach out to a company or something and give them a voucher for uniforms or whatever. But I don't see how this is going to work. If you're going to be taking applications, then you're going to take the applications and get their sizes. By the time you get there, they may be sold out. And I don't care what nobody say. Anybody that got kids in public school system know how hard it is to get uniforms and how quickly they sell out of those uniforms. So I just like to know, how is this going to work? You fill out a piece of paper and then what?
Well, it's my understanding that we will work with, I'm sorry, I'll just let Councilwoman Fareed respond.
Thank you, Council President. So the way this program is designed to work is that the city will purchase uniforms on behalf of the people who apply. I've discussed this with the city manager and the treasurer to, work out a process for how it will work. The applications that are received between August 15th and August 23rd, that will be the first batch, and then we will buy uniforms based off of that batch. In the application that is attached to the legislation, it indicates that you need to provide the sizes for your children as well as what their uniform specifications are. The reason why it's going to be a challenge to buy in bulk ahead of time is because we don't know what we need. So if we buy 200 blue polos, but we only get a request for 4 blue polos, then we would have wasted money on those other shirts. If we buy shirts in sizes that are not needed, then we'll end up with shirts that we just have to return. So we decided it would be more realistic or more practical and the best use of resources to do it that way. In terms of a voucher, we did discuss the possibility of a voucher. The challenge with that is that uniforms vary from school to school. Deciding on an amount would be the right amount would be challenging. Uniforms do sell out, but they don't sell out permanently. So if they're sold out and we need to wait until they're available, we will purchase them when they're available. It would be the same as any one of us individually going to purchase. If it's out of stock, we have to wait for it to come back in stock. So that is how the program is designed to work.
Mr. President, may I follow up on this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I never said buy anything in bulk. You don't buy anything in bulk. I never said that. I said a voucher program where you reach out to a uniform company like the one down there on Forbes Boulevard that has all kinds of uniforms. Or you find, if your kid's in private school, then you need to find out what school where to get their uniforms from. Then that's where because most of them get their uniforms from basically the same place. Especially if you're in a private school. But public school is just a color and it's certain dynamics. And a lot of times they go right down the street here to the place. You give them a voucher, say, hey, we're going to do vouchers for these kids to get uniforms. And they go there with their voucher, they can get whatever size they need to get. And down because I like to, is the city manager on? Because I like to know, has he started the process? Because we're in August now. Is he on?
We have not. This is just a resolution to authorize us to.
Mr. President, discussion has been done on this already. We talked about it at the work session. This has been brought up over how it's going to be done. I want to know, where is he at in the process? Because school starts in 3 weeks.
Point of order, Council President.
1 second. Yeah. Councilwoman Fareed.
Yes, we haven't voted on this, so without knowing that we actually have a program, wouldn't be prudent to start doing anything. To ask the question around
I'm sorry,
going to the,
Fareed, you're breaking up.
am I?
And
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay. The All American Uniform Store, there are two uniform store down on Forbes Boulevard. They are stocking school specific uniforms, and their costs are significantly higher than where you can typically buy the school uniforms that are non-branded. So like the polos that most of the PGCPS schools wear, those are significantly cheaper at Old Navy and Children's Place and Walmart, of just to name a few, versus buying those same plain polos from the All American Uniform Store. So in keeping with the fact that these were resolutions that were presented as for us to be spending the rest of the ARPA money, we wanted to also be prudent in how we were spending that money and not just spending the maximum if that wasn't necessary. If we can get these shirts again from Old Navy or in Children's Place, that is significantly cheaper. You can get 4 polos from Children's Place for less than $40 when you buy them in the 4-packs, versus going to All American and one of those polos are going to cost you between $30 and $40. So that's why going with the All American as a voucher wasn't seen as the most ideal use of the city's funds.
Mr. President,
Councilman Herring?
because I asked the city manager a question and I'm
Yep.
waiting for an answer.
Yeah, that's what I was going to go to next, Councilman Herring. I believe the question was, has work already started on this? Mr. Simpson?
Good evening. We have been in discussion with this particular relative to this particular resolution as well as the other. We do feel like the tax rebate program sort of laid down the footprint on how we're able to process and handle information, sensitive information similar to this. We've also had Monet Ward to complete her certification as well with Monday.com. And we feel as though we're able to utilize aspects there. We're actually using it now. We haven't opened it up to the council as of yet. So to answer your question, we're in preliminary talks and just waiting to see if it's approved by the council so that we can start implementing a process, understanding the time-sensitive nature of being able to do so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Jones?
Thank you, Council President. May I direct my question to Councilwoman Fareed?
Sure.
Thank you, Council President. Councilwoman Fareed, as a parent who will be buying uniforms this year, may I go to a place and purchase my uniforms and then submit my documentation and my identification and my eligibility criteria information to the city and then receive the reimbursement, or do I have to come directly do the process that you're trying to implement of going first coming to the city and filling out an application and so on and so forth? Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Councilwoman Jones. Yes, that's a great question. So we did look at a few options, the vouchers being one, and this reimbursement being another. And there were a couple of concerns with the reimbursement. And I'll say there was no strong opposition to doing the reimbursement, but some of the challenges that we discussed were, one, if people are having a hard time being able to purchase uniforms, expecting them to be able to buy them and then get reimbursed for them might be a challenge. Two, there was concern around, potential misuse of receipts and people, just using receipts that multiple people use just to get the money. One of the concerns. But I'm happy as always to consider things. one of the challenges is that when we have these resolutions and we have work sessions to discuss these things, that we're not addressing them there, and that we're trying to like amend them now. So I mean, I'm happy to look at other options, but as you know, the city manager has also spoken about when he's saying we're in talks, that was the talks between us, not with All American Apparel, as an example. So we have sort of put a process together aligned with how this resolution would work. If we were to do something else, we would need to rework that.
Thank you so much. That answers my question. I just wanted to know if there was some way to quill all of this that we got going on now. Maybe that suggestion might be able to help. But I understand what you're saying about having done the process with the tax rebate and the administration. That the issues, they were able to identify issues that might come up that might hinder the process. So thank you very much. Thank you so much for this program. I think it'll be effective for the children.
Thank you. Sorry, one other thing I wanted to add, Council President. Another way that we think that we would be able to, by us buying in bulk as opposed to individual people buying, another way that we feel we can be fiscally responsible is by leveraging volume discounts. So when we're able to purchase more, that allows us to be able to get a discounted price. So again, what an individual might go and spend $100 on, we as a city might only need to spend $75 for that. So that's the other advantage to us buying the items ourselves.
All right, thank you. With that, Madam Clerk, could you move forward with the voice vote, please?
Councilwoman Fareed,
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume,
Yes.
Councilman Hairston,
Yes.
Councilman Herring,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jones,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferguson,
Yes.
and Council President Curtis.
Yes,
Vote carries.
thank you. Last on the agenda are citizens' comments. Okay, citizens have a comment, please raise your hand, virtual hand. If you don't know how to raise your virtual hand, you can speak up. I will call on you and you will have 5 minutes. Are there any citizens' comments? Hearing none. The time is 9:09. This meeting is now.
I have one. It's Crutchfield. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. The time is 9:09. This meeting is now adjourned.
I was trying to unmute. I'm trying to do more than one thing. I need to say something.
I had raised my hand.
You didn't, Mr. President, you did not adjourn the meeting yet when Ms. Crutchfield came in. You just announced the time. You didn't adjourn.
I do not have a problem. I do not have a problem with citizens speaking.
Thank you.
I just want to check on proper protocol because I did say this meeting is adjourned.
I was trying to unmute.
Okay,
Give us a minute to unmute.
Ms. Crutchfield.
Yes.
Please put your phone on mute. I'll call you in a second if I can. All right. We don't have a parliamentarian on the line, but I'll just leave it up to the council. Is there any opposition for us extending the meeting to hear public comments? In absence of a parliamentarian saying this is out of order, then hearing none, no objections by council, then we'll extend this meeting to accommodate citizens' comments. I see two hands, and I have Ms. Crutchfield, who I believe was, at least I heard her first. So Ms. Crutchfield, we'll go with you first, and then Ms. Wilson second. Crutchfield.
I'm trying to unmute. I'm sorry. I do more than one thing at one time because your meetings go long. So to say all of that, I heard Heron. I listened carefully this time, and I heard Heron talk about that tutoring program, and everything he said was right on point. And I'm not taking sides. I don't take sides. I believe in what's right or wrong. Real simple. I have a lot of questions. Even Ferguson said some things that really was great. I have some concerns. That is a lot of money. Who are we tutoring? Are we tutoring kids in need, or are we tutoring kids who would benefit in the long run? Or we need to tutor. If you're going to use that money for tutoring, it needs to be for kids in need. We have too many children in need of tutoring than those kids who are bright, who just want an upper hand. Whatever you all do, whatever decision you make, you need to carefully strategize that tutoring. If you're going to pass it, make sure it's for children in need. I'm like Heron, we're going backwards. We got to consider the needs of people and students when we are allocating money. What is needed? I'm done.
Thank you. Sorry, Ms. Wilson?
Yes, I am extremely disappointed in the council because the budget that you all passed had absolutely nothing in there for seniors. And Mr. Herring had asked that it be put in there. And I am not convinced that that issue will be addressed later on, because what should have been done is that those things that he was proposing using ARPA money for, they should have been placed in the budget. They should have been earmarked in the budget. It wasn't necessary to have a resolution already on hand. You were working on the budget, and you should have included in the budget at the time. So if I'm saying to, especially to seniors, you all need to be on this council because about getting things done for seniors, because that is not being done. You're not being considered at all. Children might be our future, but seniors are our present. We are presently here, and there are needs that things that are needed for seniors to have, and nothing was put in that budget at all. Absolutely nothing. And again, how many times y'all going to talk about the sidewalk over on Church Street? That should have been, you talk about children, that should have been one of your number one issues, to earmark it in the budget. And you did not do it. And I'm extremely, extremely stressed because of how this council is behaving. You all should be ashamed of yourselves, really, ashamed of yourselves. Thank you.
Ms. Smallwood. Smallwood, if you're speaking, you're on mute. Smallwood. I can see you, but I cannot hear you. I'll give you a few more moments, Ms. Smallwood. Unfortunately, Ms. Smallwood, we cannot hear you and I cannot unmute you. I give you one more chance, Ms. Smallwood. Try to be patient because I know you have your hand raised. Ms. Smallwood, I'll actually go to Ms. Gray, and then I'll come back to you to see if you can fix your technical issue. Ms. Gray?
Hi, good evening. I wanted to comment on the ARPA funds for the tutoring. I heard all sides, and I'm still in full support as a citizen who would utilize these funds to keep it as it is. I think it's going to help a lot of Glenarden children. I also agree that there should be outreach to reach those families that maybe won't hear it, from traditional ways that it might be dispersed. So I am in favor of having more of an outlet for them to get this information so they are able to apply. But I think the resolution will be very beneficial for Glenarden students and Glenarden businesses. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Smallwood? Okay, are there any other public comments? Unfortunately, we cannot hear Ms. Smallwood. And if there are no other comments, the time is 9:17. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.